Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Health Wealth podcast for another week. Got an episode this week all about fasting. Going to talk about the benefits of fasting, why we should fast, practical ways to fast, the things we're going to get from it. We're not going to go super deep on science. It's just going to be me this week talking about it. We've got lots of episodes where we've gone deep on the science of fasting. There's loads to it. There's so many layers, and you can really dig into it if that's what you want to do. But this week, I want to talk about it more from a practical sense. What benefits you're actually going to get. Why is it going to help us? How do we implement it? And just speak plainly, simply, and just for people who are maybe interested in health, aren't wanting to dive that deep into the actual science, but just want to know practically, okay, how is this going to help me? And just some common sense around that. So recently on a podcast episode, I was asked by a guest about intermittent fasting, some questions around it, and, about whether you get benefits just from intermittent fasting, even with no other changes. So intermittent fasting is where you fast for a certain amount of time in a day. So maybe you do 16 hours fasted and eat within 8 hours. Whereas what we'd call extended fasting would be maybe doing like a 2-day fast. Intermittent is more like every day, or it could be a few days a week that you're doing it. But they were asking about, do you get health benefits just from intermittent fasting? And the answer is yes. And this is actually something that I say to people when I start to work with them, or even if it's just someone asking me for advice. One of the first things that I ask them to do, or I recommend, is cut the snacking. Just cut out that snacking and start leaving bigger gaps where we're not eating during the day. So intermittent fasting. And even if you don't change what you're eating, you continue to eat the same foods and the same amount of foods, so not even any less, no less food, no different foods, but you just start to do it in, say, a 16-8 or an 18-6 or even a 12-12, whatever. But if you start to have a good period of time in a day where you are not consuming anything, that's actually going to start to improve your health even before you start changing the foods. Now, obviously, I encourage people to also start changing the foods, but when you're making changes, it's good to do things in stages, because sometimes doing everything at once is too much. It can be just too much. That's why a lot of crash diets fail, because a diet's going to fail anyway, because it's not something you'll keep up. It needs to be a lifestyle. But people change everything at once. Like, I'm going to go gym every single day, and I'm going to eat only this food, and I'm going to do all these other things which they don't normally do, and it's too much. You have to build it into a routine. So changing things a bit at a time is a good way to do it. And intermittent fasting is one of the first things that I recommend introducing, because it's amazing how easy it actually is for us to fast and to go a certain amount of time without food, even if we're not eating properly. Now, the better you eat, the longer you can go without eating comfortably. You start eating the right foods, you comfortably go a day without eating, and it's fine. But even when you're eating a poor diet, you actually can go a good amount of time without food. Fine. It takes a bit of getting used to, but it's actually fine. What we realize is that the majority of time, our hunger signals are actually just routine. What you'll find is that if you have breakfast at the same time every day, if you get up and decide that you're not going to have breakfast, at breakfast time, you'll feel hungry. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean your body needs nutrients. What it means is your body's just used to you eating at that time, and it's just making you feel hungry. So if you have a couple day fast, say you do a 3-day fast, day 1, you'll feel hungry at all your normal meal times because your body's used to it. By day 2, the hunger's pretty much gone. Maybe you'll have a little bit, but it's pretty much gone. Your body's kind of realizing, okay, we're not eating. This has changed now. And by day 3, a lot of people don't have really any hunger at all, which just shows that it's not that your body's desperate for nutrition. It's that we're in a routine. And a lot of time as well, it can be boredom, people snacking all the time. So first thing we should do is cut out snacking. And if you can implement intermittent fasting, yes, there is benefit even without changing what you eat. Now, let's look at why fasting is beneficial to us. And again, just from a common sense perspective. Now, there's many different aspects to it. One is energy. Now, energy is a big thing, and everything you do requires energy. And even to think clearly requires energy for your brain, and the correct energy, and also your body having enough energy to do that. Now, digestion is one of the most energy sapping processes we have in the body. So anytime you eat and your body needs to digest, a lot of blood is being diverted to your gut to process that and oxygen, and a lot of energy is going there. So you're going to have less energy for everything else. So you're more likely to have brain fog and not be able to think and focus clearly. You're going to have less energy for going to the gym or just any physical activity you're doing. So constant eating keeps you in that state of you're just constantly low on energy. You can't ever access all the energy you've got in your body because your digestion is constantly using it. When we eat food, it takes a while to digest it. It's not done in 5 minutes. So if we're literally snacking and we're eating every hour or two, we never get a rest. Our digestive system will never have a rest, and it's just constantly working. And that's not going to be good for us because we're not going to be able to access that energy. So that's one reason that it's not going to be good for us, and that having a period without eating is going to help us. And what you'll find is, especially if you're someone that suffers with things like brain fog and you really can't focus in the day, being in a fasted state really improves mental clarity. Now, at first, if you're not used to it, let's just say you never ever go more than an hour or so without food and you're eating a poor diet. Yeah, the first day that maybe you go 12 hours without food, maybe you feel a little bit of a headache or your body has to adjust a little bit. But as soon as you get used to it, which will happen very quickly, it feels good. You feel mental clarity, you feel good energy, your body feels clean, and it just feels like it works better, which is what it's doing. It is working better because it's not having to constantly digest and process food. Our body's not built for that. So you have animals like cows, which and other ruminant animals that they chew their food and eat all day. It's what they do, like all the time. You got things like gorillas. I think it's 80% or more than 80% of the time of the day is spent chewing, eating. We're not built for that. We're not built to be eating all day, not built to be chewing all day, and our gut is not built to be digesting food all day. We want to have a meal or two, digest it, and then the rest of the time, we want to be going about our day doing different things and having the energy and the resources in our body to put into those things and not to be worrying about the digestion. So this way of eating that we've now come to, this kind of modern way of eating that we call it, where we're just eating constant, it's the complete opposite of what we're built for. We're not built for that. One of the things I always find funny is that with fasting, we get it the wrong way around. And we talk about just a little bit of, I'll do some fasting here, as if fasting is the ulterior thing, as if fasting's the thing we do now and again. But actually, the intermittent thing that we do is actually the eating. Fasted is our natural state. That's our steady state. That's the state we should return to. And then now and again, we break it up by eating. But we get it the wrong way around. And we think constantly eating, and throw in a little fast there and then constantly eating again. But it should be the other way around. We like to call it sometimes with clients to try and get our head around it. We'll call it intermittent feasting instead of fasting. So we're fasted most of the time, and then we throw in a little feast here and a little feast there. The rest of the time is fasting, because that's how we're built to work. Like other, similar animals to us that eat similar diets, they'll just have a big meal and then they can go a day, 2 days and just do what they need to do. And not saying that you can only eat one meal a day or one meal every 2 days. For some people, one meal a day works great. For some people, 2 meals a day works great. And, for some people, they need to go to 3 meals a day to feel better. It can be different. But for everyone, there's no reason that we shouldn't all be hitting, around, say, a 16-hour fasting window every single day. You don't have to do it every single day, but there's no reason that you can't. It's not hard. There's benefits from it that you're going to get, and it's going to be very healthy for you. So we talked about the energy that, we're losing all that energy by having our digestive system constantly in use. And then we're talking about other resources, that we need. The nutrients, like the nutrients and the blood, and there's all these other processes in our body that need all this stuff to happen. They need the stuff that's being broken down from our food that we've got and then we're absorbing into our body. They need it to be going to other places so we can do all these tasks that we need to. But it's all being used up by our digestive system, by a constant cycle of digesting. Obviously, the fact that we're eating a poor diet means we're not getting as much nutrients as we should do, but here we're just talking about the intermittent fasting without changing anything that you eat. So, there's a lot of important things that our body does. Our immune cells are mostly found in the gut and mostly made in the gut. Our immune system, the majority of it, I think 80% is in the gut. But when we're digesting food, we can't be properly and optimally maintaining our immune system because the gut's too busy. It's got to digest food. It's got to get it all processed and absorbed. And it doesn't have time to look after the immune system, which is what it should be doing. Our hormones are produced in the gut, a lot of them. And we can't be doing all these things when we're digesting food because it's like a computer. When you have a computer, especially if it's a bit older, you have a couple tabs up and then you've got this app open and you're trying to run this and everything's running slowly. When I'm trying to upload my videos for the podcast, if I have a couple things open, it takes forever. I need to close them down, do one at a time, and then I can do it properly and then do the next one. That's what our body's like. It has a certain amount of bandwidth that it can do. And if you're trying to run 10 different programs and processes at once, it's going to struggle. It's not going to be able to do them properly. And that is what we see. And we're eating all the time and we're not able to do these processes. We can't replenish the immune system. We're not producing the hormones correctly. We're not getting into autophagy, which is another thing we get from fasting. So autophagy means self-eating. It's where our body will take old, damaged, worn cells. They'll take it, break it down, and make it into brand new ones. Perfect. Okay, repairing stuff. That's what we need. We need that to happen constantly in our body. And our body is constantly replenishing itself. Some parts of the body will replenish in a couple of days. Some across a couple of months will basically get the whole new thing replenished with new cells. Our body is not staying the same. It's constantly being remade in our bones, our liver, in the gut, everything. But if we're constantly interrupting autophagy and we're constantly eating and we're not allowing our body to do that, then what happens is actually we start building bad cells on top of bad cells. The bad cells aren't getting replaced. They're getting just reused or they're left there and they're built on top of them. Things like tumors. That's what they are as well. And we're just building bad cells on bad cells. And what's that going to lead to? Poor health, things like cancer, just, growths in different places. You don't need them, and damage and, body parts not working as well. If your liver is being replenished with bad cells, built on top of bad cells, it's not going to work as well. Same with your kidneys, same with your heart, same with everything. So we need to be able to clear out the old, like in the spring, people have a spring clean, get everything out, ready for the spring and the summer, come in, clear out the old, start again. That's what we need to do with our body all the time. And we can't do it because we're eating constantly. It takes around maybe 10, 12 hours for autophagy to really start ramping up and kicking in fasted. So that's why we try and say to get to at least 16 hours. So you get a good amount of autophagy before you start eating again. And we need that to be happening all the time. And that's very good, very healthy for us. We're also in that time, as I say, able to replenish the immune system and all the cells and the hormones and everything that we need. And our body can function properly because we're not eating and we're not digesting. Hi guys, now I don't promote many products because most of them are just pure marketing and I'm not going to recommend anything that I don't personally believe in. However, when I do find a good product, then I'm more than happy to share it with you all. So I'm excited to share Hazard Toys. They're combining fitness and fun for your little ones. Hazard Toys specializes in soft, plush, fitness-themed toys for newborns and up. These adorable toys promote healthy habits early on with plush, dumbbells and kettlebells that are perfect for tiny hands. Each toy includes a small rattle, which is fantastic for sensory development and keeping little ones entertained. And Hazard Toys integrates physical activity into playtime, enhancing motor skills and coordination. So we've teamed up with Hazard Toys for an exclusive offer. You can use the code HEALTH10 for 10% off any toy or bundle. You get free speedy UK delivery from the local warehouses, and you can get a free ebook, Dreams of Pink Plant Woods, with every purchase. So don't miss out and use the code HEALTH10 today. The other thing is that if we're eating a poor diet, which most people are, and a high carb diet, is you've got your blood glucose spikes and your insulin spikes. And what happens if we do that every couple hours? Throughout the day, it's bam, 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 bam. And that is causing inflammation in our body. It's causing damage. It's causing us to become insulin resistant. And it's going to lead to, as we know, type 2 diabetes and, many other things, fatty liver disease, and then heart disease, cancer, and all these other things that come from it. But even if we are still eating not great food, but what if we sandwiched all that food down into just, say, 2 or 3 meals in a day? We have a long period, which is just like this, just steady, no spikes anymore. It's just like that. Okay, you have a couple of big spikes there because you haven't changed what you eat yet. But for, say 2/3 of the day now, you've got nice, steady blood glucose. Your insulin can have a rest. Your pancreas can have a rest. And that's a good benefit. That is going to help your health. That's how we can improve our health without even changing what we eat. Because you've now got a nice period where your body can rest. Say, oh, finally, I can do this process and this process. We can sort out the immune system. We can activate autophagy. We can start replenishing the cells. We can get these hormones produced. We know we haven't got to be throwing insulin out because there's nothing coming in. Your body can just get all these jobs done. It's just practical common sense. We're not built to be eating all the time. Eating all the time is bad for us. Cut it out. Eat less regularly. Doesn't have to be less food, as I say. It's not the food we're looking at here. It's the regularity. And that's going to improve your health for those reasons we've talked about. You're going to have more energy, and you're going to have more clarity, mental clarity and focus. And overall, you're going to feel better. And that is going to help you to then take the next steps in health, which is then look at what you're eating and see if you can start to improve that as well. But on the fasting side, it's so simple to intermittent fast. And as I said, you don't even have to go to 2 meals a day. You can still have 3 meals a day. You can still have 3 whole meals a day within an 8-hour window, and that gives you a 16-hour fast. If you wait until after 9, if you have your breakfast at 9, you could have your lunch at 1 and finish eating your dinner by 5. That's 8 hours. Then the rest of the day from 5 in the evening all the way through to 9 the next morning, 16 hours, you're fasted. It's only a couple of hours in the evening and a couple of hours in the morning. The rest of it you're asleep for. It's not hard. Or you can go to 2 meals a day, which is one of the first things I did, and I just dropped breakfast. Just fasted from my evening meal from, say, 7, 8 in the evening all the way through till about 12, 1 o'clock, and then ate again in the evening when I got back and did it again. And it's easy. And it doesn't have to be breakfast you skip. You could keep breakfast. You could eat breakfast, a big lunch, and skip dinner. But intermittent fasting is so easy. Like I say, stick to 3 meals if you want. Just cut out the snacking and have it in a smaller time window. And where you have an 8-hour eating window, you still don't want to be constant eating in that. If you're eating in an 8-hour window and you're having 3 meals, just have 1 at the beginning, 1 in the middle, 1 at the end. Don't be like, okay, I'll eat in the middle and then in an hour or so I'll eat again and eat again. That's not completely defeating the point, but it's going to defeat it slightly. You want to have those periods where your body can just relax and do what it needs to do. If you had a job, say that you have a job, and every time you go into the job, you have a certain amount of work to get done. You have a list that you need to get done each day. But every time you try and start a task, someone walks into the office and asks you, oh, can you just do this? Can you help me with this? And you go and help them. You come back, you're like, okay, now I'll do it. And then someone else comes in and asks, you won't get anything done. You're never going to get that list done. Same for our body. It's never going to get done what needs to be done because constantly, oh, there's some more food coming. Oh, no, they've shoved another thing down. Oh, they've drunk a big sugary coffee and a croissant's come in. Oh, okay, we got to deal with that. Oh, now they've had lunch. And it's nonstop. So the really, really simple thing about fasting is just that we're not built to constantly eat. It's literally that simple. It's common sense. If you think about it, it's literally common sense. We're not built to eat all the time. Eating all the time, therefore, is going to be bad for us. It's going to prevent our body from running optimally. So cutting back on that and going back to eating less often and having nice big spaces of time where we're not eating is going to be better for us. And that's completely true. And that doesn't matter what your views are on actual food, diet, nutrition. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you eat, whether you're a vegan, a carnivore, whether you're low carb, whether you're fruitarian. I don't care what you are. Fasting is something that transcends all of that and is beneficial to humans no matter what, especially with intermittent fasting. Now, extended fasting is a bit different. There's huge benefits to it. Absolutely huge. And in certain situations, it's unbelievable. But it doesn't need to be done by everyone, and it doesn't need to be done all the time. And there can be a time when extended fasting can be negative for you, depending on your certain situation. So you don't want to get carried away with that. And especially if you're eating like an optimal diet, you don't really need to do extended fasting unless you have a specific health reason. So I'm not talking so much about that. I'm talking more about intermittent fasting and things that we can be doing all the time. Because like I referred to earlier, it's not even like intermittent fasting should even be a thing. Intermittent fasting is just normal. That's literally our normal state, and it should be our normal routine and habits. That why would we be eating all the time? I always go back to look at how humans will have lived for the majority of time. No matter how old you think the world is and how long you think humans have been around, the last sort of 100 years is, not even 1% of the time humans have been around on this planet. And if you look at the other 99%, how have we been living and how have we been eating? Because the further back you go, the closer we'll have been living to how we naturally should do. Animals live as they naturally should do, unless we come along and change it. But they live naturally as they should do because they don't have the ability to change that. Unfortunately, we do. And we've changed our habitat, we've changed our routine, we've changed everything about it to the point that now it's unrecognizable and we live completely unnaturally to how we should. And we see that in our health. So we always go back to it and look at what would we have done ancestrally, and look at humans. Go back, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 20,000 years. Would humans have been eating constantly? No, we wouldn't. Again, it doesn't matter what you think about history, and it doesn't matter what you think humans ate originally. There's no way that humans would have been eating all the time. We'd have been eating once or twice a day. Sometimes it would have been once in a couple of days, depending on when we were able to get food. And we were built to survive with that, to thrive in that environment, and to be able to live. And we've now gone to the opposite end of the spectrum where we're scared to go, a couple of hours without having something to eat. So it's common sense. Just think about it and think about how humans would have lived. And the best thing I always encourage with everything that I talk about is try it. Try it yourself. Don't listen to me and believe me and say, well, Ryan said this, so it must be true. Don't watch someone else and think, well, they said it must be true. Try it yourself. Always. Doesn't matter who tells you it. Try it. Do some intermittent fasting. Bring it in. See how you benefit and see how you feel. Because everyone will feel benefits. Like I said, it's the first thing we do. Intermittent fasting first, and then look at changing foods, cut out snacking. All of these things are going to bring you health benefits, and you're going to notice. And it's something you can build into your routine. It's not hard. It's easy. As I said already, you can do 3 meals a day, do 2 meals a day, you can do 1 meal a day. And it's really easy to do. And especially as you start to eat better foods, it becomes even easier. But I started I didn't really change the foods that I ate. I started to gradually, but the first thing I did was I just stopped eating breakfast. And I never thought I could do that. I had to eat breakfast every day. I've told this story a lot. I literally couldn't leave the house without eating breakfast. Never thought I'd go without breakfast. It didn't matter where we were going, I had to eat first. And then sort of by mid-morning, I'd be hungry again and have to eat again. And I just thought, I just got a fast metabolism. It's the way I am. It's blah, blah, blah. Rubbish. I stopped eating breakfast, easily went to lunch without eating. So how come when I ate breakfast, I had to eat again by about 10:30, 11, but when I didn't eat, I could go till after 1? That's the blood sugar spikes. That's what it is. I was eating a high carb breakfast that I thought was healthy, spiking my blood sugar, it dumps, and then you're hungry again. You got to eat to get it back up. Whereas if you don't eat, you're nice and steady, nothing bad going on, all good, everything's steady, body's doing what it needs to, and you feel great. You can go all day. So I encourage you to try it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. But it's just a simple overview, trying to look at it from that practical sense of view, I don't want to overly confuse people with all the science, because a lot of people aren't really into the science. They just want to know, how can I get a bit healthier? Maybe how can I lose some weight? How can I help this health condition I have? And, intermittent fasting is something that can do that. There's simple reasons why that I've explained. It's going to improve your energy, your mental focus and clarity. It's going to improve your immune system. It's going to improve your bodily function. It's going to make everything much more optimal, improving your health, even in the ways that you can't see and maybe don't feel at first, but it's going to be benefiting you. So definitely try and implement it, see how it goes. Watch more of the podcast for more advice. Go back and look at some of the episodes where we went deep into fasting if you want to learn about some of the science behind it, and keep learning. that's what I think. Always keep learning. That's what I always do as well. Keep learning, keep improving, and we'll see you again next week. Until then, let's get optimal together.